We're doing the Blob today on Gene and Roger Talk Movies. Not the Blob with Steve McQueen from the 50s.
Which was cool.
But we're doing the
Kinda.
1988 remake. It's got Kevin Dillon in it, Matt Dillon's brother. And then, of course...
Younger brother, I would assume.
Yeah, I would suppose. Well, for sure it's his younger brother. He was just coming off of his role as, what was it, Bunny in Platoon, right? Do you remember that? But Shawnee...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Shawnee Smith is also in this, who most of us will probably recognize more from the Saw franchise, but she's a young person in this one.
Yes, Saw was later.
But, Gene, we've been doing a lot of remakes over the course of our show, and so I figured we just did The Fly remake last week. And our very first episode, of course, was John Carpenter's The Thing, which was a remake.
Yes.
And so I figured, hey, Gene, let's do another remake that I think is better than the original, and let's do The Blob. So, Gene, initial thoughts on The Blob.
Well, I thought also we were doing movies in Halloween that were maybe horror movies that the family could watch.
I don't know if that really fits with this one.
Yeah. Well, Roger, I just have to ask you, what made you think that this movie was... like, for us to review this movie, I feel like I'm insulted that I had to watch this thing. Because you put it forward, so here I'm thinking, oh, Roger, I've watched this movie before. It's got some redeeming value. This quite possibly could be the worst movie I've ever seen. I mean, we've been doing this for a year now. I've seen a lot of horror movies, and I think this is the number one, the worst horror movie we've reviewed. It sucks. I hate this movie. I hate it. You know, it's just, everything about it is just inconsistent and bad. First of all, the protagonist, the characters Roger just mentioned, I hate those guys. I wanted them to be dead. You know, and it's just like, first of all, this guy, Kevin Dillon, is supposed to be this badass dude. But yet he drives his motorcycle. But I drove motorcycles in college, and Roger had this Harley. And he drives this wimpy little, probably 100cc little thing. And it's like, are you kidding me? It's like, as a previous motorcycle rider, I would not be caught dead on a piece of shit like that. And it's like, and then just like this Shawnee, she's just a little spoiled brat girl, and it's just, there's this whole thing with football and that doesn't go anywhere. Characters are killed, and the effects are just stupid. You see the little miniatures, and at the end of the movie, they bring in this little conspiracy theory about the Blob was some kind of rogue weapon. And then it's just like, you're watching this thing, and this, like, there are whole parts of the movie where there's no Blob. Where's the Blob? And we're talking about something totally different. It's like, is this the same movie? And then at the end, we're looking at this priest. He's got this white eye. He's preaching the end of the world, like preachers do sometimes. And he holds up this jar because previously he had taken parts of the Blob, because of course the Blob is vulnerable to the cold, right? So part of the Blob got in a freezer and had crystallized. So he took some of these parts and put them in a jar. So now he's growing them like a pet, ready to unleash on an unsuspecting world. But it's just so dumb. It's just like, there's no coherent action. It's just like, you don't like any of these characters. It's just, yeah.
Well, Gene,
even the little character, even the little boys, there's little boy characters we follow along. They're just little punks.
Well, and here
why
we're at this.
You made me curse.
I know, and it was like, yeah.
It's Roger's fault.
It's like, yeah, Gene is taking this for real here, his hatred of this film. But we're at this point again, of course, where, I love this movie.
Why? You've got to you went to college. Try to coherently explain any redeeming features of this film.
Well, first, did you notice who the writer is?
No.
Frank Darabont.
Oh, yes, I did. And actually, I was commenting to my wife about that. Yes, he has co-writing credits.
With Chuck Russell, the director.
Right. Frank Darabont. And it's just like later on, and not too far, not too much later, he was the force behind Shawshank Redemption, and then also The Walking Dead, like the first few seasons, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy rocks. But I don't know. Everyone got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere, right? And so you're starting at the Blob.
So he starts with the Blob.
So here's why I like it, and here's why I like it as a remake of the original Steve McQueen version. I do like the homages they do to it, such as the old guy getting in contact with the Blob is very similar to the original. I like
the stick. Puts it
in. They do the stick thing. I like how they recreate the theater scene, although amazingly, I think the original Blob is more fun in the theater scene.
And I think the special effects in the 50s version is it 50s or early 60s?
50s.
The 50s special effects are better than this movie, which was made in 88.
So it's 58 was the original, and I actually
it's the quality of the.
I like the collection of effects they do here. If you look at the credits, the ending credits, easily 60% of those credits are all effects type stuff. They do stop motion in here. They do miniature stuff.
Yeah.
They do rear screen projection. All of it practical. The gore effects. Gene may disagree, but I love them when the Blob has enveloped her quote-unquote boyfriend at the beginning, and
he falls off the ceiling, and the Blob falls off the ceiling and lands on this guy, and he's melting. It's right in front of her.
And she's screaming.
Yeah, but then she passes out in the very same room, but does the Blob then get her? No, the Blob just goes away.
Right, they do those kind of things, right. But I just really enjoyed because the 80s were all about these practical effects, right? The Fly was 80s, that remake, and it was all about practical effects. The Thing, the ultimate practical effects was the 80s. And so it's Hollywood just was we're going to remake all these old 50s horror movies, and we're just going to goop them up and just make them really nasty and gross. And the Blob hits that. The Blob also does this amazing sequence later in the film where I
don't know if I'd use the word amazing.
Oh, I'm using it, baby, because I love this movie.
Amazing.
But they're in the sewers, of course, trying to escape the Blob.
No, it's not sewer. It's the storm drain.
Storm drains or whatever. And
cities have two systems: sewer, storm drain. Let's get it together, people.
Okay, community planner. But she's got the two young boys that she's trying to get out of there, and the Blob goes for it because we've always talked about you got to be real careful killing children in your movies, and the Blob absolutely kills.
The Blob gets this kid. Yep.
And they don't hold back on. Here's what it looks like when a small child gets engulfed by the Blob, and so I love.
Well, it's not a small child. It's just this little kid who's not sympathetic. You just hate this kid.
How old is he? 12, 10?
He's like 12, and he's I don't like this
kid.
And
so they're getting him killed. And then Gene hates the fact when the military guys, the scientist guys show up. I love it because I'm all about this. Okay, the movie's going off the rails now.
What are you talking about? I think the writers were probably sitting around a table one night. They're smoking, drinking beers, and they're just writing it together. And let's just bring in the mad scientist. And they wear these Battlestar Galactica little outfits. It's just from the original series in the 80s again. And it's just and they all have M16s for some reason. Yeah, and they take the town hostage, and they're mean, and they say things like, the civilians are expendable.
Oh, yeah, they're all about that. Yeah.
It's just I can see it. Yeah, and they're just laughing and have a great time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I also I just like that, though, because how do we remake the Blob, but then also add some different angle to it? Because the original Blob, it was just, it's this alien thing.
Yeah.
And we learn that it's susceptible to cold, and they end up, I think the last scene of the Blob, right, aren't they dumping it in Antarctica or somewhere?
Yep, they dropped it by military parachutes into Antarctica.
Yeah, and then in this one, it's no, let's add this other layer. Hey, it's Frank Darabont. I'm all about conspiracies and all this stuff, so let's throw this thing in where these scientist military guys show up, and I liked that detour because I like this kind of chaotic nature of movies like this. And Gene is right. There's this whole sequence at the beginning with this football game you're introduced to characters, you actually assume one of the characters is going to be a major player who is killed immediately.
Yeah, and then nothing really happens. Kind of they introduce the girl in that part, but it's not really. You spend a lot of time.
But it's kind of like this slasher movie template where, okay, every 8 minutes we're going to cut to some other random character that we saw for a minute. Now they get slaughtered, right? There's the whole excellent sequence with the waitress, and she's apparently got some
thing with the sheriff.
I thought that effects work when she's in the phone booth, and the blob envelops the phone booth and then blasts through the glass.
Right, and then she sees the body of the sheriff like floating within the blob. So her love interest was his deed.
Yeah. And so I really,
he didn't make it.
I really liked how they went heavy on the effects work.
See, that was the only redeemable scene of this movie. The waitress is in the phone booth. She's trying to call, but the blob surrounding it, and then within the blob, she can see fragments of bodies, and then she sees the sheriff. Is being decomposed.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
he's dead already, but
the blob had already got him.
The blob got him. Yeah.
I will point out that Bill Moseley makes a short cameo appearance in this film as well. He's the soldier down in the storm drain.
Yeah,
area,
storm drain.
Right?
Yes,
that for some reason is carrying a rocket launcher, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, I watched this with my kid, and it's just like, why does he have a rocket launcher like in his back pocket? Is that just like standard military equipment, but you just put it in your back pocket? You don't have it attached to a backpack or something?
Yeah. So then of course Kevin Dillon somehow just knows how to use this.
Knows how to use it
because they're all trapped in this storm drain now because the evil guys have sealed it up, and so he uses
they drive this big truck on top of
to blow his way out there. But Bill Moseley, of course, we love from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. He was Chop Top, and then also a major player in The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses. So it was nice to see him.
I wish you have not reviewed any of those movies.
Well, Gene, I would be very hesitant to ask you to watch either of those.
House of a Thousand Corpses?
House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Reject is the sequel to it. They're Rob Zombie movies, right? Mm-hmm. And I actually like Devil's Rejects a lot more than I like House of a Thousand Corpses, but they're both awesome. Sid Haig plays this character. I think his name's Captain Howdy, and he's like this evil clown guy.
Captain Howdy.
Or something like that. And they're interesting. Of course, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, we could do. It's definitely, Tobe Hooper directed that, of course. It's definitely a different feel entirely from the original Chainsaw Massacre. It's more of a black comedy kind of thing going on.
Oh, yeah, no, we can skip that one.
But, I don't know if you would like any of those three films. Oh. And based on your hatred of the Blob, who knows what he'll like anymore?
Well, you suggested this one, and I hate this movie, so maybe we'll just try those. I'll love them.
Scott Eggleston, he texted me the other day because he was
he's a frequent guest with us,
debating whether or not to sit in with the Blob, but he couldn't fit it into his schedule. But he was like going, well, maybe I'll pick a movie and we'll just do that. But I don't know if I'll be able to pick one that Gene's going to like. And I was just like, dude, Gene, it's hard to do that. Try some A24s maybe or something like that. But so he's actively searching for a film that we might all be able to do. But
nice.
The reason I wanted to do the Blob, again, goes back to these 80s became this, like, we're remaking a lot of movies from the 50s. I believe this remake is better than the original. Gene clearly disagrees with me on that. Although, when's the last time you saw the original?
Well, the original, it was not too long ago. Actually, it's borderlines on the it's silly. It's all about teens, and it's like and this movie gets into that too. Is that the teens see it and they witness it. Of course, nobody believes anything a teen says. Right. So the teens have to band together, and they use fire extinguishers to save themselves and to kind of isolate the Blob, I think. But they follow that similar theme in this movie because teens see what's happening with the Blob, but nobody believes the teen, and so they're rejected. And the mom tries to give the daughter, Shawnee, a sleeping pill, but she gets out of it and she escapes out the window.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just like that. Nobody believes teens, but teens know the answers. And yeah, it kind of follows that theme. Yeah, which is all the Marvel movies, by the way.
Yeah, and Kevin Dillon, of course, is clearly being modeled after Steve McQueen's character, and he's the rebel that nobody trusts and all that.
Right, although Steve McQueen is definitely more likable, and you like that character, although Dillon's character is pretty despicable.
Actually, I liked Dillon's character. Yeah, I did.
That silly hair, and again, I just can't get over the motorcycle. I just is like, what are you doing? And there's this silly sequence with the beginning. He's trying to jump this bridge on this silly little motorcycle, and he's riding it, and then somehow right before he gets to the threshold to jump, it like cuts out on him. And it's like, what? It's like from somebody who rode motorcycle. I'm just like, what in the world?
Well, but
then later on, he has this little victory because he's running from the evil soldiers. They're chasing him and they're shooting at him with automatic weapons, but of course they don't hit him. But then his motorcycle works now, and then he flies over the bridge and he makes it. Yay, personal victory. And then the fleeing Nazi soldiers, in their trucks, they crash into the river. Yeah, the trucks, of course, they turn over.
Right.
And they roll, and
At least they didn't explode immediately.
No, they didn't explode. I think, did they explode later?
Well, he hit it with the rocket launcher.
Oh, yeah, that one, with the manhole cover. Yeah, the truck explodes, yeah.
But, I mean, the original Blob, are we really buying Steve McQueen as a teenager? Because he must have been like 30 years old.
He's probably, it's okay. He's give him a pass on that.
No, and I certainly enjoy the original Blob as well, but I do think this remake I would prefer to watch this more than the original one because of the reliance on all of these different special effects. I really enjoy movies that use a wide variety of effects, and I know you don't like them very much, but for the time, they looked really good.
Talk about special effects, though. I thought in the original, like when the old man is finally consumed, you were in the doctor's office, and then you see the Blob kind of rolling down the hallway, and there's the nurse, I guess. But the Blob right there is really kind of scary. It's approaching the nurse, and I remember that scene. And I think when I was a kid, we went to drive-ins a lot. I remember seeing it might be both of these movies I saw in a drive-in. But, that was kind of an effective scene right there. And in the original, when the Blob absorbed you, there weren't any remnants. You were just gone. Yeah. And then the Blob increased in size. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I kind of liked. I thought there were remnants of people in there, and it was just kind of silly.
Oh no, I loved that. I loved that where they're screaming as their flesh is being peeled away by the Blob. The boyfriend at the beginning, and then that little kid near the ending.
Yeah, because then Shawnee's trying to help him, and then his arm comes off. Yes, that was pretty good.
Trying to pull him out of the Blob, and then
his arm comes off, and then she passes out, and again she's right there, only feet away from the Blob, but she makes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, plot armor.
Can't kill it. Right, exactly.
Plot armor.
Can't kill everybody right away.
Yeah.
So I think we're at the point, Gene, where it's fair to say you are not recommending this film.
I am not. Don't ever watch this movie.
I mean, we have it on audio here because it's very rare, extremely rare to hear Gene just blurt out foul language. And so I guess we have to take him very seriously today that he absolutely hates this movie.
Oh, yes. Don't ever see it. It's like the choice between leaving the TV off and maybe doing a 1,000-piece puzzle or watching this movie. You've got to choose the puzzle. Don't watch it. Like, I feel dumber having watched this movie.
And I actually feel...
I don't know if I'll recover.
I actually feel energized and excited having watched this movie again for probably the 9th time over my lifetime since it came out.
Yeah, don't make it 10.
I love this movie. It is effects heavy, and certainly it's not going to be too taxing on your brain by any means, but it's, in my opinion, definitely worth seeing. Gene absolutely hates it.
No.
But Gene, what are we doing next week?
I don't know. Continue on I don't know, maybe more of a Halloween kind of.
Well, I know you've been talking with our religious mentor about maybe redoing the car episode.
Yeah, he hasn't got back to me on that.
Okay, so because for those of you who don't know, I failed to hit record when we did that one.
Yeah, that was a good episode. It was all lost to the ether.
To everywhere, yeah. But so we're going to fit that one in. I did mention to you Woman in Black. Do you want to try that?
We could try that.
Week?
Yeah,
okay.
With Harry Potter guy.
Yeah, Harry Potter.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah. So, again, we may do that. We may do the car. We may do something that we haven't even mentioned yet. But we'll do something next week. So thanks.
Yeah, there's this A24 called The Monster. Or there's Ghost, I think.
Okay,
I don't know. Whatever. There's lots of stuff out there.
We're already trying to figure.
Maybe
it out.
your what'd you say? Not House of Thousand Corpses, but the better one, The Devil's Rejects.
Well, I think it's important though because Devil's Rejects is the sequel. I mean, you're gonna have to sit through House of a Thousand Corpses. I already know Gene's review of it. This movie sucks. Why did you make me do this one? But
so we'll skip that one.
Devil's Rejects is definitely. And tonally, dramatically different from House of a Thousand Corpses. So it's almost more of a road picture than anything else. But it's pretty good.
Interesting.
But anyway, we're just rambling now.
Yeah, we're rambling. Yeah, next week we'll have some cool episodes.
Yeah, something will happen next week. We'll catch you then. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Take care.